And we're rolling. I think I forgot to clarify this, but I think we're on episode 13 of the
No, it's
Unlimited Range
14.
Pod.
Episode 14.
Episode 14. I'm Jack.
14.
This is my dad, Dean, best boss.
Formerly the world's
Or-
best boss. There's an opening, Jack.
Yeah,
An opening for the
so
world's best boss.
so dad's retired as officially. I guess,
I'm
as of
retired
today.
today. Yes,
That's big.
it is.
Big. How do you feel? Are you sad or are you ready to roll?
It's mixed feelings. You know, I feel like there's something left in the tank, but I am interested in exploring some other options. So I think that's what I'm going to do for a little bit.
Yeah. And quick recap, I guess. We've been out for a couple weeks to the Alaska trip.
The Alaska trip was fantastic. If anyone wants to go to Alaska and you don't want to do a cruise, just let me know. I got some good ideas for you. You don't have to do the same itinerary or anything, but I got some good ideas for you. And Jack, a teaser trivia question for you while we're here. What is the state bird of Alaska? You don't have to answer it because I'll answer it at the end of the podcast today.
I feel like
State bird of Alaska.
I feel like your phrasing of that was I'll break down what you mean by that a little bit more because I think that was a little confusing potentially for viewers. You're gonna start doing a thing here where you pose a question for the people that are watching, not for me, and then at the end you give people time to think.
If you want to answer it,
Oh, okay. So it is for me.
It can be for you.
Okay.
Teaser. Is it an eagle or is it not an eagle?
Speaking of, I know we have some stuff to get to today, but it just jogged my memory. Well, first I'll say I didn't have as great of a last couple weeks as you did because I got my wisdom teeth taken out.
Yeah,
that was pretty.
Although it was very funny when you called us at like 5 a.m. in Alaska time to tell us how you're feeling with the whatever sedative or whatever they gave you.
Yeah, it was a little rough. It was a rough couple days. It wasn't. Luckily, I was off work and stuff, so it wasn't too bad. But
do you remember? Do you remember asking me and your mom like why they wouldn't give you your teeth? That you wanted to hang on to your teeth, and they wouldn't let you have them.
So the story about that is I was being a little goofy with that at the timing with the timing and everything, and it probably came out really weird and sounded very bizarre and whatever. But
it was funny, honestly.
But I was serious because I don't know why, but I've just always, I like when I knew I was going to have that done, I just started thinking to myself, like, it'd be cool to just like have those teeth. Like it's not from a standpoint of like, I want the teeth to do anything with them, obviously. I've always had a weird, I just think like the process of taking that out of your, like seeing like something that was like inside your mouth is just kind of cool. So I just kind of want to look at it and be like, wow, that was in there and they just pulled it out kind of thing. And then I'd probably throw them away, but they said that basically, I guess when they pull those out, they cut them in half or something, or they do different things to get it out. So it's like, doesn't even come out as a full tooth. So yeah, I didn't get that. Wasn't able to cross that off. But the thing I was going to say too, is because you were mentioning birds. I realized within the last week that I have a fear of birds, like a pretty strong fear of birds. Because I think I talked about this once on one of our podcasts we did. Ohio
turkeys. It was turkeys, right?
Yeah, turkeys. Ohio doesn't have a ton of them, but apparently it's a big thing down here in Tennessee. And they cross the street and they kind of like threaten me.
Well, that's the only way to get across the street. They have to cross it.
Yeah, so the whole gaggle of them kind of threatened me. But the other day, it was even worse. A turkey vulture who was, he was a big bird. I don't really have a reference, but it was a big old bird. And I was walking my normal route in the afternoon because sometimes after work gets out, I'd go take a walk like a mile around the neighborhood. And he like flew from this other guy's yard and just like parked himself on this roof, like probably less than 100 feet in front of me, and just like glared at me. And I was so scared. And also I was just like, birds have like a very weird structure. And I was like, if this guy comes at me, I have to like hit him. That would just be so I just turned around and got the hell out of there. And then I got back and I was like, I'd never really thought about it, and it led to an even bigger thought. Where it was like, honestly, I think the only animal I'm not really I love animals, but I think the only ones I'm not scared of is like dogs.
You scared of cats? Guinea
I have a
pigs? I mean,
health.
it's anything smaller than a dog, you're probably not scared of, right? Unless it's
I
a
have a fear
Wolverine
of.
or a badger or something.
I I I hadn't thought about it. That's what I'm saying. I hadn't thought about it, but I kind of am like horses and stuff. Like I like to try to like pet them, but the second they like move and they look like they're gonna do anything, I like pull my hand away. Um, farm animals. I'm not scared of goats.
Right.
But I am scared of
Oh.
what are the nice ones? Is it alpacas are the mean ones or the mean ones the
Llamas?
llamas? Which ones
I
are
think
mean?
I think llamas might be more mean than alpacas, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So anyway, it's not really a good story, but it just occurred to me that I have a respect and I like admiring animals, but I'm kind of scared of a lot of them, especially
Well,
birds.
they have these animals up in northern climates called Dall sheep, Dahl sheep, and they're the big
Yeah.
horned sheep and everything else like that. Like one of the animals that actually is a predator to them is the bald eagle.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think about it, and so yeah, they'll go after the baby Dall sheep, and what's a bald eagle go? 30, 40 pounds, maybe? Not even really. And
Well, and that's why.
a baby sheep's got to be, 100 pounds or so.
That's precisely what scares me about birds, especially birds. Now, I'm not like scared of a pigeon because if it comes at me, I'm just gonna like swat it away or whatever. But
Right.
like, I've learned enough about these big birds, especially the ones with prey birds. Like if they just get their talons into you, it's gonna do some serious damage.
Yeah. I mean, they get just right in there and they but there's
Yeah.
a lot of animals. So it's interesting. Like two of the predators in Alaska you don't really think about are bald eagles, and the other one is the wolverine.
Yeah.
And I was telling your mom, like, I actually would rather run into a bear out in the wilderness than a wolverine.
I don't think so.
I
I don't think so. I think that's
now
hyperbolic.
most bears are like, yeah, I'm out of
Yeah,
here. Like,
but
they're lazy predators, except not grizzly bears, but brown bears. They're kind of lazy predators, but
yeah,
the wolverines, those are nasty. I was watching something like there's a honey badger on some video being attacked by like 4 leopards, and he was kicking their butt. Like,
oh yeah, that's
like,
the original Honey Badger Don't Care video. I think.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to mess with those. Those are real bad animals.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Let's wrap up our animal. I took too long on that. That's my bad. But just
so
thought that
there's some
was
cool.
interesting.
There's a lot of ravens up in Alaska. I did not expect to see, and there's some bird called a magpie, which looks like a raven and a blue jay.
Yeah,
had a
it's
child.
like a similar. Yeah, it's like a similar cross. Yeah,
Yeah.
ravens. There's a cool documentary about ravens, and it's a good watch. Ravens
They're
are
smart. They're really smart.
No, they're beyond smart. They're incredibly smart. Like I think they said they're potentially up there in the top 5 like smartest overall of all animals in the whole kingdom. Like they can like untrained. They can like ravens will show up and like attach themselves to a person and start doing tasks and things like that. Like they just kind of inherently figure that stuff out. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, for the main thing for today, we got we're calling this the Tailgate podcast.
Eagles Tailgate.
Eagles Tailgate. We play in approximately 2 hours. I've got the reason this is in a glass is because it was outside of the fridge.
Oh.
So I'm not going too crazy, but I'm just keeping the tailgating mood. This is the Mountain Dew. We're not sponsored, so don't flag us, but I'm in the Mountain Dew Hard Dew. So yeah, I thought we'd give a little high level what we're expecting for tonight, and I don't put too much stock in the camp stuff. I just had Jared's buddy was just asking me last night what my takeaways were from camp, and I said I don't have any, but yeah, I don't know if you want to take it from here and give your expectations for tonight in the season.
I mean, you're absolutely right. It is really hard. In the last 10 years, the NFL has gone away from like hitting in practice and hitting in, scrimmages and preseason games. They've down to 3 preseason games, and none of your players that are going to start play any preseason games. So it's kind of hard to get a feel for what things look like. And I would expect it to be I didn't think the game last night with the Chiefs and the Ravens was real crisp. I expect something similar, with both these teams tonight. I mean, Green Bay ended up on a really, big note. I mean, they went out to San Francisco and played them toe for toe. So, I think it's going to be a good game. I'll be interested to see what, the defense, the new look defense for the Eagles with Quinion Mitchell and, Isaiah Rogers playing corner and a lot of new linebackers, and Fletcher Cox is gone. Jason Kelsey's gone. So some, players that have played serious roles for the Eagles are gone. So it's a little bit of a change. I feel like it's a great matchup. I think it should be a fun game.
Yeah. I think, Mom's got Packers fans on her side of the family. I'm not a Packers fan, but they're definitely not a team I root against. I think they've got a lot of cool. I'm big on Jordan Love. I think he's shown some really good stuff in fairly limited time so far. And I think they're in good shape with him. I think with the Eagles, man, it's the obvious one, but it definitely comes back. I think thing I'm looking for is this is probably the most reported thing I've seen, but again, I don't really put a lot of stock into it. I think linebacker play for the Eagles is going to be huge, because I think they did in the aggregate, they had to have plugged up the secondary. I don't know who's really going to emerge per se in their secondary, whether it's one of the two rookies or whether it's, I don't know, Isaiah Rogers is hurt, I think, but he's in there, and you've got some of the other guys, Ringo and so forth. So I think in the aggregate that will clean itself up, and then your Fangio's has a track record of success with defensive backs. So I don't think that's a huge concern. And I do think the guys from Georgia up front, Carter and Davis, I think they're due for a big year, and it sounds like they both got in shape. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's going to be interesting to me is it's this Jordan Love year 2, right? Like, so he has got 2 years on the bench and then he played a year or something like that. And then, so this is year 2. So are the defenses going to come after him a little bit differently this year? I would expect Vic Fangio to throw some things at him that he probably wasn't looking at last year. So I know he had a really great back end of the season last year, but there's some game planning and strategy I would think would be challenging for that. And then I think the other thing for Hurts is going to be, is he going to be able to get the ball down the field? Is he going to get the ball down the middle of the field? What's he going to look like on zero blitzes and things like that?
Well, yeah,
and struggled with last year.
And that's a good point too, because I think a lot of the talk around the Eagles has been defense, which is obviously understandable because of how bad that unit was down the stretch. And the personnel stuff last year, and they ended up pretty much bottom of the league in most defensive categories. And you can blame that on a number of things, but this is quietly a pretty big year for Jalen Hurts, because he just signed the big contract, and there's obviously no signs that he's not being shopped or anything like that. No. But I don't like to do the hyperbolic stuff, but with the weapons they have and the continuity they have on the offensive line and some of that stuff, and in grabbing a play caller who Kellen Moore at the very least.
I'm really excited to see Kellen Moore in motion. Like there's actually been, like last year the Eagles had no motion, and so teams could just line up on or right over top of somebody and just be like, yeah, let's just go play this. And it didn't work out well for the Eagles. And
my point too with that is like, is Kellen Moore the greatest offensive coordinator in the league? No, but he's a respected guy. He's a guy that's had success. If the season goes poorly, I don't think you can go point at him. So I think this is a huge game 1, and it's going to be a big tone setter for Hurts, because we'll find out, I think, with these weapons, is he in that tier, in one of those upper tiers, or is he just a guy that's, kind of benefited over the years from the system he's in?
Yeah, it's a couple things with that, and I want to get to your picks, or what you're looking at from a betting perspective here too. But with Kelsey retiring, a lot of the line calls are going to go to Jalen. He's going to have to call blitzes out and things like that. I think that's good. I think that's good for him, and see how he reacts to the blitz tonight. If he if they're throwing a lot of balls away on third down or something, or under a lot of pressure, that's not a good look for them. It's not a good signal for them for the rest of the year. And the other thing to looking at from an Eagles perspective is what's Jahan Dotson going to do in that third wide receiver role. I don't know why the Redskins threw him away. They clearly threw him away. He had about 50 catches for the first 2 seasons. If they get 50 catches out of the third wide receiver position, the Eagles do, that's actually a really good thing for them. And if they get production out of that, man, that could be a huge thing.
One of my takes I have, and I'm not sure it's a hot take, it shouldn't be, is I think the wide receiver position is very misunderstood when it comes to guys other than your star all around Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, so forth, AJ Brown type receivers.
Yeah.
And I think there's this mentality out there that you just go get an aging wide receiver who was once really good, like Odell Beckham, or you get somebody, you just stockpile talent at that position. And in my opinion, it does not work that way. The wide receiver 3 position to me is a skill set just as a third down running back or a power running back or somebody else is. One of my favorite players in the league for a long time now is Tyler Boyd, because he is not a number 1 wide receiver, and he's not even really a number 2, but he has been
solid 3.
I'm curious to see how the Bengals do without him, because he does exactly what you need a guy in that role to do. He moves the chains. He's faced with usually up against a slot corner who's a smaller guy, typically uses his body really well, good in the red zone, doesn't drop a lot of balls. That's what you need that guy to be.
You know what?
So my long story with that is that I think that's what Dotson has the potential to do really well, because he to your point, the Commanders did throw him away, but I think he's not what they ended up drafting him to be. I don't think he's a true 1 or a 2. I don't think he has that explosive ability. I don't think he's a guy who can succeed against top cornerback matchups, but I do think in this role, if he embraces that role, he could be Jason Avant 2.0, which I'm excited to see.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, like when it was Deshaun and Jeremy Maclin, Jason Avant was where they went for first downs.
That's what that role is. That's what that role is. That role is not
move the chains.
It's a move the chains guy. It's a move the chains guy. It's a guy that can get open when you.
Who was the guy that played up in New England for a while? Went to Denver, a little white guy, Wes Welker.
Well, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts when I watch these games, because a lot of teams, what they do is they just try to, their third or fourth option wide receivers are simply really athletic guys who aren't great at the position. And it's like, we're just going to send him deep, or we're going to do this. And it affects their offense. Whereas, some of these other guys may not be as explosive, but there's been some really, really solid guys who've had long careers in the league because they benefit from those matchups of not being the number 1 guy on their team, number 2, not even number 1 or 2. And then they just play the position the right way. So that's what, if on paper, I think he has the ability to do that. So like you said, I'm excited to see what that looks like.
I am too. So I know you're big in the betting sphere, and I'm kind of a novice. What are you looking at this week? Like, what kind of those teasers or lines look interesting to you?
Yeah, I had a good run last weekend. I hit a big one on college football.
Would you hit like an 8-team parlay or something?
No, it was like 6 or 7 or something. And then I did some. I actually picked the Boston College upset over Florida State, so won about $150 there too. And
nice.
So I had a good run there, and I did get burned. I had, believe it or not, I had Ravens money. At like third quarter, I placed a small live bet on Ravens money line and Zay Flowers touchdown. So
Oh,
So that was a
man, a
backbreaker.
toe. He needs a one
No,
shoe
no,
size smaller.
no, that was likely. Flowers was the
Uh,
play, but Flowers was the play before where he rolled out and he had him wide open and he threw it like
uh,
10 feet over his head. So yeah, so
Isaiah
that's
Likely had a monster game last night. Wow,
yeah,
didn't see
that
that
was
coming.
great for him, bad for Mark Andrews fantasy owners.
Oof.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a rough night for Mark if you drafted Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
But back to the upcoming stuff. I'm gonna save my what we're gonna do here for the people listening. I think as the NFL season progresses, we're gonna try to make 1 to 2. And this is not betting advice. Don't just go run and I don't know if anybody's watching this, but if you are, don't just go run and say Jack and Dean told us to do this. But
I will say this: if you're going to listen to betting advice to anyone on the Unlimited Range podcast, it should be Jack. Don't listen to Dean. For sure.
but ultimately, probably don't listen. Take it with a grain of salt. But I just think we're going to do something. We're just going to try to maybe make a pick or two each week on the podcast and track it as it goes along. See how we do. See how we shake out at the end. So we'll keep a running tally. But there's a number of things I like before my main pick of the week. I like the. I definitely like the Falcons taking on the Steelers. That game's at home for the Falcons. I know it's been what do you call that? I know
what's the line? What's the line on that one, Jack?
I believe the Falcons are close. Well, it's gone up, but it's a 3.5 point spread.
So basically, it's they get the home field, so they get the 3 points.
Yeah, and I know people have been bitten by the Falcons here for a couple years because they've kind of overpromised, underdelivered. But I really think Arthur Smith was holding those guys back. I think people seem to really like Raheem Morris.
Is Kirk playing?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is playing, and I think he's one of those guys too that I think he's a floor elevator. I don't necessarily think he puts you in the Super Bowl crosshairs, but I do think he's a good quarterback, and I think he is a good leader of a team and things of that nature. So I like them in that spot, and I like some of the Falcons guys that have a big year this year. And then I think as far as like closer spreads, obviously like Bengals are gonna take care of the Patriots, you would think. The other one I like is I like the Bears this year. I don't know if I like them up to 3.5.
I'm gonna go against you on that.
You're gonna zag there?
I'm gonna zag. I'm gonna go like I like the Titans in this spot, getting the 3 points, and I'm not a firm believer in Caleb Williams. So and I might be wrong, but
well, and I agree with you to a degree. I wouldn't take the Bears with the 3.5. So I probably wouldn't make the Titans bet either plus 3.5. So I'd probably stay away. I kind of just like the Bears to win that one. And then my last one that I like, everyone's kind of doing a thing here with the Colts, and I'm just not buying it. I like what the Texans did last year.
The Colts are a home dog against the Texans.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Here, I guess I could be wrong.
What's the spread on that one? Can you remind me of the spread?
Yeah, the spread on that one is 3 even.
The Texans are giving up 3 on the road in Indy.
The Texans are the favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm buying what the Texans are selling, and I'm not really buying what the Colts are selling. So that's where I stand on that. I would take the Texans -3.
No, I mean I'm not an Anthony Richardson fan. I did not understand that draft pick, and I did like CJ Stroud coming in. I do like DeMeco Ryans. I agree with you on where the directions are heading. I just think it's early to go a division game on the road against a Colts team that they made the playoffs last year, right? Or they were on the cusp of the playoffs.
No, I think I think it came down to the last game.
Eliminated the last week of the season, so they were right there. And I do like Shane Steichen. So, I would not put money down on that game. I hear what you're saying, and I do think the Texans are good. So go back to the Bears. I would think about putting some money down on the Titans to go up there -3. Or +3 or whatever they are. +3,
yeah,
I guess.
+3. Yeah.
Remember, I'm a novice at this. but the other thing I was looking at that I thought was interesting in the betting lines is that Caleb Williams and Josh Allen are both the prop bets for them are 244 yards passing based on the website I was looking at. And I easily see Josh Allen over that, even though his wide receiver core is kind of crap. Although that kid from Florida State is pretty funny. And they got a lot of tight end play with
Well, did you just give your pick of the week?
my pick of the week for teams would be I would take Tennessee.
That's your pick. That's your pick of the week, huh?
Yeah, I think it is my pick of the week. And then I would say Josh Allen over and Caleb Williams under 244 is where I'm going with that.
Can I say this? Everyone has their own strategy and stuff, and the real bettors, like, the real big dogs, they just have like algorithms and things, and they a lot of it's numbers based. And for me, I watch enough of this stuff, like every single game. I got 3 TVs, so it's just a pure consumption based thing. My formula is essentially I like to stick on the side of the team I really like, as opposed to sometimes the matchup, or I don't weigh so much into I don't like that team. It's more I like this team. So that's where I stand with the Colts thing. I don't want to make out like I think the Colts are going to be garbage. I'm just really high on what the Texans are doing, and I think it's worth more than 3 points at this point based on what I saw last year and where I think they're trending and picking up digs and things of that nature. So that's where I go with that. And to your point about Josh Allen, that's kind of why I'm definitely steering clear of them for a couple weeks until I see it a little bit, because I know he's still going to make things happen. I'm big on him as a player. I just don't. I really don't understand what they're, unless this Keon Coleman turns into
Coleman. Funny kid.
He is a
Go
funny
watch
kid.
Some videos. He is some.
Him and the Panthers guy with the Southern accent are hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I'm rooting for the kid. I hope he's great. But until I see something there, I just don't know who he's.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next. After Sunday, we'll see if Caleb Williams goes over 244 or Josh Allen does.
So that's your pick. So your pick is.
I think Tennessee. I kind of like. I'm with you on the Houston thing. But I feel like that way about Tennessee. I'm not sure about Callahan as a coach. I love the fact that he brought his dad in to be the offensive line coach.
Yeah.
I think they've got a lot of good players at skill positions. I think Levis was really kind of dismissed in the draft. And, I don't know if Will Levis is going to be a great player, but I think he's better than like Anthony Richardson and a couple of these other ones. I think he's a tough kid. And Tennessee always plays good defense. And so I think it's going to be good for Nashville. I think, with, Vrabel moving on, I'm looking forward to watching some Titans football. I think it was a good move to let Derek go. I mean, it's good for Derek to go over to the Ravens, and so I think all around, I'm interested to see what the Titans have this week.
Are you booking it? So we'll book you in.
I'm taking Tennessee and +3 and we're going to Chicago.
Well, actually, don't short side it, because the big thing there is you got 3.5 based on the line I'm looking at. So that's big because +3 you would push with the field goal, so you wouldn't actually win, and you actually get +3.5. So
that's what I'm taking. And I am taking. For the side bet, I do think Josh Allen will go over 244 and Caleb Williams won't touch it. But let's see what happens.
All right. I'm going to sound like a homer here, and I might be. I can be accused of that. But I was going to stay away from it. But the more I think about it, stuff we talked about, I think, I don't like the fact the game's in Brazil, but I do think that if it wasn't in Brazil, this would be a wider spread than 2.5. I feel like the Eagles would be -4.5, -5 in that scenario. So I can't predict how they're going to come out based on the travel arrangement and things of that nature. I can't predict that. But I do think that Green Bay actually has a new defensive coordinator, and the unit kind of suffered a little bit last year at times. So I think with our offense and being able to control the game that way, hopefully we can run the ball effectively. if we don't turn it over, I think I like Eagles minus 2.5 there.
Okay, that's good.
So that's my pick. We got Titans plus 3.5.
Any prop bets that you think are like, oh, this is just.
Yeah, I got a couple. None of these are my main pick of the week, but I do like Barkley tonight. Barkley's receiving line, when I got it, I don't know what it is now. I got it at 16.5. So I like that number a lot.
Yeah,
it's slightly risky, but I do like I said, it's risky, but I like Malik Neighbors. I got him at 57.5 receiving yards. Because I think he's gonna be. I like what he did. I like his talent, but I think he goes to the best. Not the best winning situation, obviously, in New York, but as far as from like a production standpoint, you're gonna plug right in and be the guy. I think he has a talent to do that. So I think production wise, I like him there, because if he's not catching balls, who is?
Right.
So I like those, and then I don't love it as much, but to your point, I think I like Levis's matchup, and his line, I believe, was 225 passing yards, and I like that matchup there.
I thought he played reasonably well last year, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I think there's clearly we'll know a lot more about Will Levis after this year than we do now, but I feel cautiously optimistic about him as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
All right, and so why don't we wrap it up with your trivia question of the week?
Trivia question of the week: the Alaska State bird. Do you have any idea on that one?
I can't really tell if you're trying to throw us off the scent or not, but I'm thinking
I am.
You are trying to throw me off the scent.
I'm trying to throw you off the scent.
I don't think you are. I actually think it is an eagle.
No, it is not an eagle. It is the willow ptarmigan.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got the ptarmigan.
No, it's a ptarmigan, and so like if you go hiking in some northern climates, there's a little bird. It's like a ground fowl, and it actually grows feather across the top of its feet so it can stay warm in the wintertime. And it's a very interesting little bird. Find them up there, up elevation. So when I was looking it up, I was thinking, well, eagles. I'm sure it's a bald eagle, because there is a lot of bald eagles in Alaska, and they are a gorgeous bird. They really are.
Yeah.
So,
but no, it's a ptarmigan.
It's a ptarmigan, and it's PTARMIGIN.
Yes, and anybody watching, if you want to go do your ptarmigan research after this, now you know it's the state bird of Alaska.
You got some trivia coming up this week, and you're like, wow, what's the Alaska state bird? The ptarmigan.
The ptarmigan, yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, I think we got our picks of the week. We got the Eagles on the spread, and same with the Titans. Got some good action here going tonight.
We talked about game birds and ravens and
everything,
vultures and all kinds of stuff tonight. It was great.
Yeah, great podcast. We're obviously hoping for an Eagles victory tonight. And last thing before we go, though, I picked them. Do you? What do you? Give us a score prediction. Give us a prediction for tonight.
I feel like there's going to be some points put up down there in Brazil. I do think it's going to be a little bit, sloppy. Maybe the first half. I do think it's going to be close. I'd like to see the Eagles win by 4. So maybe 31-27.
31-27. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to go big here. I think it's going to be. I think we're going to go 35-24. 35-24. I think we're going to put up 5 touchdowns, no field goals.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
All right. EAGLES Eagles. You got anything else for us before we sign off?
No, great to be back in Nashville.
Don't
forget there's an opening.
Don't forget there's an opening. All right. To all our international viewers, apologize, because probably some of you don't watch football. So apologies if this didn't
unless you're in
you.
Brazil. I mean, if you're in Brazil, tune in tonight, because it's going to be a fun game.
7:20 Central Time, and
there you go.
I'm about to get on the couch here and get my remotes lined up and get my piece of paper. I like to write my bets out on a piece of paper, and we're about to get cracking.
It's like you're like Rain Man. That's awesome, dude. Have a great night. Love chatting with you. We'll talk
And,
to you soon.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week.